I'm Chief Deputy Jose DeCobo with the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, and up here with me is Mr. Ronald Poindexter with the National Insurance Crime Bureau. This afternoon, the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, along with the Hillsborough County State Attorney's Office, the Florida Department of Financial Services, and the National Insurance Crime Bureau, announced the results of a 5-month-long investigation involving staged vehicle crashes and insurance fraud in Hillsborough County. Operation No Pain, No Gain has resulted in the arrest warrants for 53 individuals and search warrants at 4 medical clinics within Hillsborough County. Detectives began to round up the suspects in serving both the search warrants and the arrest warrants this morning. The suspects include clinic owners and managers, as well as general employees, massage therapists, and participants in staged crashes. The criminal charges range from conspiracy to commit racketeering, influenced, corrupt organization, or RICO, to filing false and fraudulent insurance claims. The Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, in conjunction with NICB, has been combating these criminal enterprises since September of 2009, after deputies noticed a pattern of questionable vehicle crashes, particularly up in the northwest part of the county. Since that time, undercover detectives have developed confidential informants and learned which medical clinics have been used in these fraudulent practices. Detectives were also able to identify the recruiters and coordinators who would solicit individuals to conduct these staged crashes. The participants would then be directed to particular clinics to sign blank medical forms. At the clinics, these crash participants would be coached on how to describe their injuries to pain to physicians. During these last 5 months, the estimated loss to insurance companies due to these fraudulent claims from staged crashes is estimated anywhere from $1 to $2 million, and potentially more. As of this afternoon, we have 23 of the 53 individuals named in the arrest warrants actually in custody and are in the process of doing interviews with those individuals. This is only a part of our effort in these types of investigations, and by no means is this the end. We will continue to conduct further investigations as more information becomes available. At the conclusion, I'd also, first I want to recognize, probably most importantly, are the 2 detectives who've been the lead detectives in this investigation since the very beginning, and have done an absolutely outstanding job, and that is Detective Jose Morales and Detective Ronnie Cooper. And they are undercover, but I will make Detective Cooper, who's actually here, available to you if you'd like to speak to him at the conclusion. But please understand that he is undercover, and refrain from any photographs of Detective Cooper. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Ron Poindexter. Ron.
Thank you, Chief. I'd like to thank the Chief for his kind remarks. My name is Ron Poindexter. I'm the Director of Operations for the National Insurance Crime Bureau, Southeast United States. Our headquarters are here for the Southeast in Tampa, and I'd like to commend David G. and the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office for spearheading this type of a fraud investigation throughout the state of Florida, particularly Hillsborough County. Also commending the 2 detectives that led this investigation, Ronnie Cooper and Jose Morales, and NICB Special Agent Robert DeLuna. Robert's also here. He works undercover as well. He'll be available to answer any questions, but please don't take his picture. It wouldn't look good anyway. But medical fraud crime can be among the, sorry, Bobby. Medical fraud crime can be among the most intricate types of fraud to investigate. Being able to bring our collective resources to bear on this problem is critical to our process of combating this type of fraud. By collective resources, the NICB, along with the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, Department of Financial Services, federal, state, and other local law enforcement agencies have a working task force to investigate all types of insurance fraud. Unfortunately, in Hillsborough County, the crime is staged, questionable accidents, and medical fraud, as the chief reported. From 2008 to 2010, this is a 3-year period, I just completed this analysis, 208 to 210, 491% increase in questionable claims, staged accidents in Hillsborough County. That is incredible for me to even state, 491% increase. Also, the staged accidents are just the vehicle, no pun intended, to get into medical fraud as it relates to auto insurance policies. Questionable medical claims in Hillsborough County increased during the same 3-year period a whopping 300%. The individuals arrested this today and during this part of this investigation are just the tip of the iceberg of this organized criminal activity that has somewhat of a chokehold on Hillsborough County. Florida, in general, has a huge and rapidly growing problem in PIP and the PIP fraud statutes in the state of Florida. It's the #1 insurance crime in the state, and unfortunately, Florida ranks #1 in the nation for questionable claims as it relates to staged accidents. Florida rates #1 in the nation for questionable claims as it relates to medical provider fraud to those staged accidents. No-fault insurance fraud is adding hundreds of millions of dollars to the Florida insurance system today as we speak. These costs will eventually be passed on to the Florida drivers. In fact, those costs are being passed on. One source estimates that the insureds pay in Florida $50 per vehicle insured per family. Since 2008, as I mentioned before, the cumulative total, and maybe I didn't mention this, 2008 to 2010, estimated to be at $853 million stolen in the state of Florida through the PIP no-fault system. I also like to thank the State Attorney Mark Ober and the Department of Financial Services Chief Atwater for their outstanding efforts in helping combat this type of crime. Again, in closing my remarks, that Hillsborough County and Tampa specifically #1 or #2 in the nation and #1 in the state surpassed Miami in all 3 categories in the last 3 years. There's a definite problem in Hillsborough County, and the chief and David G. and these young detectives and all the deputies and law enforcement are to be commended for taking the torch and moving forward to investigate this intricate type of crime that's burdening our economy in this state by $850, almost $1 billion in 2011. And I'll be available at the close if you have any questions. Thank you.
Chief, you've had these types of investigations before on similar scale. What are some of the things that you think made this particular investigation stand out, made it unique?
Well, as a result of the first round of investigations, we were able to develop confidential informants that really allowed us to go further into these organizations and really get into the inner workings. In each of these 4 cases, we were able to go up the chain, if you will, to the clinic owners or the people running the clinics. Whereas the first investigation really, for the most part, focused on the participants and some of the lower level individuals.
Chief, are these folks essentially getting this cash, this money paid to the clinic and then splitting it amongst each other? Or like how does the money play out amongst these players?
Well, like most criminal organizations, and really this is nothing but another type of organized crime. It's the people at the top who are making the most money. It's just another form of a pyramid scheme, and inverted, if you will. The participants are paid, minor sums to be participant in these stage crashes, and are being used largely by these clinic managers and owners who are really reaping the huge benefits financially.
Because you talk about this as being very highly organized and maybe linked to organized crime, you've cut down on the fraud, but haven't you also had an indirect impact on crime in the area? Because, of course, these people that are conducting this criminal activity will then go on to create other crimes because it is this linked to organized activity?
Well, I mean, in and of itself, it's organized crime. There is a lot of organization. I mean, just like any corporation.
Beyond money, there's crimes that occur.
Oh, there's always going to be collateral crimes as part of things like this, and there certainly are. I mean, although some of the individuals used or being used at the lower level don't necessarily have prior criminal histories, many of them do. And I know I've been made aware of several instances where there's been, again, collateral crimes as part of this, or people involved in this have also been involved in other crimes. So it's exactly. I mean, it's not they don't function in a vacuum here. You know, these roots spread out into the community in many ways far beyond just this.
How large are these operations in dollar amounts? These four, what slice of the $853 million pie do these four represent?
Well, and the chief asked me that question earlier, and it's hard to say, but if $853 million for 3 years, an organization such as these, it's estimated could take $1 to $2 million a year in income, and because of the PIP dollars, $10,000 per insured in the state, it becomes a sort of a feeding trough, and these criminals are attracted to it. So only their limitations by their own ingenuity would limit them on how much money they could steal. But there are other crimes as well, as the chief points out. You know, money laundering, human smuggling, income tax evasion, other crimes, and some that may be violent crimes associated when this criminal activity gets entrenched in a community. And from my experience, it's much different from what I've seen in the last 15 years in Miami, where we have a similar task force. It didn't seem to, there's a lot of it, more of it. Well, not more of it now, there's more in Tampa, but it doesn't have the grip that this organization has. And that's why, as Joe said, that they keep chipping away at this, and eventually we'll break it open at the top.
Can you speak to the Hillsborough County ordinance that's before the Board of County Commissioners, and how that ordinance would shut down clinics like this and help prevent this type of fraud?
That's a good question. Thank you. I will try. Hillsborough County Commissioner Beckner has met with NICB, the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, at their request, and insurance industry personnel to look at passing an ordinance for Hillsborough County where the regulation of these clinics, so-called PIP clinics, no-fault clinics, sham medical mills, are set up to do nothing but steal money out of the system, to have them more regulated. And we had meetings with the county commissioner. I don't want to speak for him, but ongoing before the state legislation, it was our recommendation that let's see what the state of Florida, it's really a state law, see what they'll do if they made any changes. And unfortunately, during this session, the regulation of the clinics where the money is stolen was not touched. So it largely goes the same, it remains the same as it is right now. Some clinics are unregulated, some are licensed, and some don't need license at all. And some have, according to ACA, you can eliminate yourself and say, I'm exempt because we're medically owned. So we hope that that in the near future we'll be meeting with Commissioner Beckner and his staff, Sheriff G, about moving forward with that ordinance.
You know, you'd said that it costs about $50 per vehicle and insurance rates increasing because of this. Any idea for healthcare purposes how much we're paying more in healthcare because all these clinics are bilking the medical?
You know, the only thing I can tell you is that the I don't have the answer to that question. The $1 billion for Florida, which it'll be in 2011, includes the health care billings to the insurance companies for the alleged treatments and patients that are being treated. Of course, there's no treatments and there are no patients, so most of that $1 billion or $853 million is in health care cost. I don't know how much that's raising. It doesn't affect your health insurance because it comes under your insurance auto policy, the $10,000 that you're required by state law to buy to operate a vehicle in Florida. So it's health care costs, but it's not affecting your health insurance, it's affecting your auto insurance rates.
So it goes back into that $50.
Yes, yes.
Were children somehow used as part of the scheme?
Unfortunately, yes. I don't know. In this particular investigation, I'm not aware. I mean, I don't know. But in ongoing investigations that we have in Orlando, in their greater Orlando area, as I said, this task force works from Tampa to Orlando. There are children being used to try to defeat the ability for investigators to interview them about their participation in accidents. But there is evidence that we have of children being in cars, placed in cars, to be in the vehicle. The more people in the vehicle, the more money they make, $10,000 per person. And if you have 3 cars with 15 people, that's $150,000 they can steal.
Is that the case?
I don't know. You'd have to ask Ronnie Cooper that question.
In this particular case, in these, there were children involved, and for the purpose of these clinics, the children just represent another body, another claim or potential claim, and obviously with children, their ability, depending on the ages, to give any information or do anything is maybe non-existent altogether. So it's easy and oftentimes beneficial to have children who serve as nothing more than an additional body, and when I say body, another claim.
And when you count up the 53 people arrested, obviously you aren't counting the kids
No,
there, right?
no.
Yeah.
Ron,
Do you know how many of the heads of the leaders have been arrested at this point, as opposed to the low-level patients?
I'm not sure if I could, Detective Cooper, back there somewhere. Do you know how many of the heads?
Yeah, all the clinic owners have been arrested, and most of the staff, and now we're working on all of the patients, the coordinators and the runners.
Ron, there was a similar arrest or sting that happened in Polk County and Winter Haven, 4 people arrested. Was that connected to this or just coincidental timing?
Yeah, it's coincidental timing. It's part of our task force, Tampa to Orlando. Agent Dennis Russo is here, Department of Financial Services, Sheriff Grady Judd, and NICB working on undercover operations similar to this, but in Polk County. The crime, unfortunately, is in Tampa and between Tampa and Orlando on the medical fraud for the claims.
This kind of touched upon, can you just explain again how we real people are going to see a real impact by having these people off these streets?
I don't know if we're going to see an immediate impact. I was hoping that the legislation would have changed some of the laws. We can continue with the fine work the sheriff's doing, state police, Department of Financial Services, but it's going to take more than arresting people. I think it'll displace people, and it'll certainly remove them for a time. But the PIP system, no fault, as I understand it, it's been around since 1970s. Grand jury studied it when I was there in 1990 and 2000. It's so lucrative. It's a personal slush fund for unscrupulous individuals, and I don't know what it's going to take to stop people from just accessing that money, and by saying, "Oh, I was in an accident and now I'm entitled to a massage," and bill the insurance companies for $10,000. I myself just got assessed by my insurance company for a $68 increase. I'm a safe driver, and the reason I was given because they said it's due to fraud in Hillsborough County, insurance fraud. And what I found in Tampa now, finding in Tampa that I found in Hialeah, the Hialeah police chief said, "Please help us, because our community can't afford the insurance rates." And let me just say one other thing before I close. The insurance industry is here today, all of them. All the insurance companies in Florida are required by state law to have an investigative unit to ferret out fraud. Insurance companies are in the business to sell insurance and pay claims in a timely fashion. Unfortunately, that 30 days is a window that allows criminals to manipulate the system so the insurance companies have to pay those claims and then fight it upstream. And it's one of the things we wanted to get changed this year in the legislature, but it didn't work out.
Why do you think Hillsborough County has the highest rate of this type of fraud?
I've studied that. I've got a good answer. We started a task force, we, NICB, and local state law enforcement and the insurance companies in Miami in 2002, I have to think, 2002, 3. And we hit them very hard down there as far as investigations, federal, state, and local. And fraud, this type of crime flourishes in an environment when no one's watching. And where NICB had 2 investigators in Tampa, and the State Department of Financial Services had maybe 3 or 4 investigators in Tampa, we weren't queued up to this environment. And I think that the criminals saw the opportunity. No one's watching, let's set up shop. And now we have hundreds, up to 500 of these medical provider clinics in the Tampa area, Hillsborough County, bilking the insurance industry and individuals. And it's even got so bad that we have them soliciting people in parking lots of hospitals. You come out of the emergency room and they're there with their vans and say, were you in an auto accident? Yes. Here, come to our clinic. We're going to pay you. And I don't want to do that. And that's what's happening. But to your answer, we didn't have enough resources in the Tampa area to see this kind of organized crime get a hold here. And I was a law enforcement officer here in Hillsborough County with David and Joe for many, many years before I retired, and organized crime was here, but I've never seen it at the extent and this focalized on one type of crime. It's not prostitution, it's not drugs, it's insurance fraud. And who would ever thought of it, but it's here, and it's bad.
All right, well, thank you very much. And again, Detective Cooper will be available, but again, please honor and respect the need for him to remain undercover. And there'll be, as Ron said, there are representatives from many, if not all, the major insurance companies here. And if you have any questions of them, feel free to approach them. Thank you.
Thank you very much.